I approached him. Prior to that moment, I'd never imagined touching a reanimated careerist. The makeup was supposed to make him look more like the person he'd been, but the stretched out features seemed faint under the black shaving and powder blush, like he secretly knew and accepted his corruption. To be on the safe side, I took a Mason's brand taser, with a Z, out the box. I wrapped my other hand in a camo bandana so it wouldn't get burned by the barrel. "It's over," I said. His head twitched at every syllable. "Here, give me the gun." I put my hand on the barrel and I slowly pushed it sideways. George grabbed my hand. His fingers felt dry, his grip was hard as rock. His other hand flew at my throat. That mannequin face was against mine. Under the makeup, his eyelids were like reptile skin. Under the lipstick, his mouth was a swollen bruise. His jaw struggled at the stitching. A sound like a muffled bark issued from his throat. I choked on sickly sweetness, and then I smelled what the baby powder was supposed to disguise. I flung myself backwards, breaking his grip, and fired the taser into the careerist's belly. Sparks flew off his skin. I felt glad he wasn't alive to feel it. I cranked the voltage to cardiac arrest levels. The thing that had been George charged me. Grabbing a hatchet off the shelf, I chopped at his neck, and pink fluid spurted. The thing kept coming, and I kept striking. I wanted to destroy it, this disgusting abomination, this filthy fucking dead thing. I wanted to erase it from the earth. I bludgeoned its skull until it looked like crumpled paper. I cut open its belly, and embalming fluid and entrails spilled on the floor. Kill, kill, kill. Die, George, die. Soon, George was a limbless, headless, eviscerated trunk. Pink liquid covered the aisle. The formaldehyde hit my nose and throat, and I retched. My tears stung like acid. Through a haze, I watched his fingers open and close as they dragged his arms across the floor. I felt someone touch my shoulder and spun around, hefting the axe for another blow. Dan backed up, hands in the air, slipped, and fell in embalming fluid. Shit, I thought. I'm sorry. I hid the gore-stained axe behind my back like a kid who's broken something. About the axe, you could dock it from my pay. I didn't want to think about what it would cost to replace a careerist. No, you did good, Henry. Dan gave me a quick and violent clap on the back before retreating 10 feet away. Real good. Now, let's see if we can't get that up off the floor. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. So Henry killed his friend George, and he feels bad about it. This is the second night. Management didn't mention the incident. Dan told us that corporate wanted a new batch of careerists embalmed. We'll be evaluated on their appearance, too. The cashier, who noted my broken, torn-up vest, she mended it overnight, washed, stitched, and ironed it. Like most things at Mason, the careerists had a warranty. 3 years was the best you got before the wear and tear broke them down. You could tell the ones who needed to be switched out. They tilted a bit. Their ankles too rotted to carry the weight. All night long, Kelly Clarkson played on the overhead. After 3 hours of stocking and home improvement, I got hungry. When I was sure nobody was looking, I swiped a can of baby carrots and entered the stockroom, a freezing, shrink-wrap smelling cavern filled with shelves of overstocked merchandise. I knelt behind the crate and popped carrots in my mouth. Somebody came storming up behind me, and I tossed them away. "I can't take it anymore," said a woman who worked in weddings. "I can't." She pulled her jacket and purse from her locker. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Some lady told me to go and unload trucks. Stop standing there and do something." Such complete disrespect. "Good luck to you. That's all I have to say. Good luck to you." "You'll be okay," I told her, and she nodded her appreciation before she left, forever. I ran into Karen on the way back to the floor. "Can you help unload the trucks?" she asked. I nodded in lukewarm assent. I unloaded trucks. I broke down 10 pallets in home improvement. I unloaded boxes of pre-safety pin skirts and bondage pants and children's clothing. the new Naruto manga and comics, the bowlerized Mason's edition of Lolita in books, China plates with Jesus' face on decorations. I crushed boxes in the compactor. I lugged sofas through furniture. I stocked Groucho glasses and doodads, put security spires on DVD box sets. I parked a steamroller and heavy machinery. The careerists worked without cease, picking up our slack when our feet throbbed and our arms felt like lead weights. As the clock ticked down to the end of our shift, I untucked my shirt, wore my tool belt low on my hip like Han Solo. Cutting open the final box of wrenches, Clark tossed them to me one by one, and I slammed the final one on the hook with a ring. "Woo!" I said, and turned a cartwheel in the aisle. "This is Mason's store 557, said Clark. "We don't play. 24 hours a day. 365 days a year. Home improvement," I pounded his fist. "Y'all don't know what kind of niggas we is." Dory from Contraceptives stopped at the end of the aisle, looking as cheerful as if she'd just begun her shift. "What are you guys yelling about?" she said. "Only the crazies work in home improvement." "Only the crazies work at Mason," I replied, giving her a hug. I rapped for her. "At Mason's we got only the highest quality of crazy. Rough riders outside like Patrick Swayze. I see you've been selling mad condoms to ladies, making sure they don't have babies. Now it's time to go tuck your own in and get some sleep. Else tomorrow, the careerists gonna be faster on their feet." We warbled along to Kelly Clarkson on our way to the back. I saw Karen and two associates connect the cardboard pieces of a Cadbury egg display. Thank God I wasn't the manager. They worked longer hours than anyone to set up for morning shift. "Punch in, grab my coat." Dawn blazed golden through the exit doors. "Look alive, pal," I said to the security careerist. He moaned in reply. A fat black spider crawled up his lips and into his nostril. Dan stood between us and the padlocked doors, his arms folded. "Nobody leaves until the work is done," he said. "These careerists here still need to be embalmed." I thought it was a trick of my tired mind. The careerists shuffled back to the vault in two straight, stiff lines, and I could swear they flushed with color the closer they got to their home. Karen handed me an apron, surgical mask, and latex gloves. Imagine gray cinder block walls and brown stains on the floor. We worked two to a table. Embalming felt like Christmas. You never knew who you'd get in your bag. I gazed down on a woman who was maybe in her 40s when she passed. I wondered if she died suddenly or if she'd expected it. Rigor mortis had set in, so we squeezed her limbs and moved her head from side to side. We washed her body. I like to think Clark and I had excellent cadaver service skills, our every touch polite. The wheels of the embalming machine squeaked as Clark pushed it over. I was getting tired and had to slap myself to stay alert. Slice the neck open. Inside were nothing but meat. Some poking around with forceps and I found the carotid, a strip of yellow flesh, which I pulled above the surface of the skin with my aneurysm hook. Make a tiny cut. Insert the cannula. Insert the drain tube in the vein. Karen came by periodically to check on us. When she left, Clark and I passed the flask. The future career's blood spurted through the tube in black chunks. 2 hours after work officially ended, Karen came down the middle of the room like she just beheaded Medusa. "You will be happy to know," she said, "that all displays are up for the day, and we made sales plans. This," she said, pointing to a dead guy's neck, "will not do. The stitches need to be fine. If it looks like this, you're not done." "Try and make a good impression," I told the woman whose organs I was emptying. I pushed the toker into the slit above her navel, punched through muscle and into the bladder. Well-defined stomach muscle, I noted. "Don't get too turned on," said Clark. I pretended to stab at him with the scalpel. "Ain't it funny how we come into the world with a tube sticking out our navel, and we go out the same way?" I wonder what she would sightlessly face when, reanimated, she entered the vault. Vampire coffins under Gothic buttresses? Did they float in sci-fi vats? Or hang from meat hoods in the absolute dark until that terror of a door swung open?